Hey everyone, welcome to WoWcast. Today we're going to have the Q&A about the War Within. Please introduce yourselves.
Hey everyone, I'm Ian Hasekostas, game director on WoW.
Hello, my name is Morgan Day. I'm one of the
Zamlin, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. Welcome.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. And let's go straight to the questions. Our first question is from Fuser from the Warcraft Community Council, and they ask, in the near future, will a 2024 roadmap be revealed?
I can say that is something we're working on in the near future. Hopefully we can roll it out in the next couple of months. We love the reception, to us pulling back the curtain and setting...
I'm so sorry to be doing this already, but the background images that they're showing, I know that these are like dwarves and stuff. They are earthen and hence servants of the Titans and masters of the Forge. Doesn't this place just remind you of Oribos like a motherfucker? Like with these like gold trails of trim with like the twisting, intertwining fucking... Like, it reminds me of Oribos really hard. Like very Norse inspired. Kind of reminds me of Zuldazar. I can see that with like the wings coming out as well. Okay. In its grandeur. It's just like, I don't know, yeah. Just a thought. I mean, they are Titan, well, we'll find out.
I can say that is something we're working on in the near future. Hopefully we can roll it out in the next couple of months. We love the reception, to us pulling back the curtain and setting expectations for what 2023 was going to look like. We're just, buttoning up some final details, but want to have a similar picture that we can lay out for 2024. I can say that even after Guardians of the Dream, that's just rolled out this week, players can expect 3 more updates to Dragonflight before War Within pre-patch. So we'll have all...
What? Does that mean 3 more patches? Is that what that means? 3 more updates, right? That's like 3 more patches? Before pre-patch? Wait, go back, please.
Us pulling back the curtain and setting expectations for what 2023 was going to look like. We're just, buttoning up some final details, but want to have a similar picture that we can lay out for 2024. I can say that even after Guardians of the Dream, that's just rolled out this week, players can expect 3 more updates to Dragonflight before War Within pre-patch.
Before War Within pre-patch. So basically 3 more patches of story epilogue. No, basically 3 patches of story epilogue stuff. Yeah. Mini patch 5, and then like 5.7 type thing. This is the last raid, and after this we're having Faded, and there will be a 0.5 patch and 0.7 patch. So it's not like major patch. Not 7.10, sorry. They essentially say there will be a Faded season in this Q&A. That's a 0.5, a full patch, and a narrative wrap-up. Okay.
So we'll have all the details when the roadmap lands.
Our next question is from AJPST
on
the
WoW
subreddit. They ask, what do you guys think about the 3-day early access?
Yeah, so obviously we've seen a lot of discussion about the early access aspect of the Epic Edition in the last few days. So really where this came from, where this started, was us looking across the board to add value to the expansion bundles at all levels. So starting at the base edition of War Within, compared to Dragonflight, like that includes a boost now, which again was only available in Heroic and up in Dragonflight. It includes Dragonflight itself, if you didn't, own that already. So when we increase the value of the base level, we need to also make sure that the increased tiers have their own compelling offerings. And as we considered options, cosmetics,
otherwise it makes them less worth it.
Access, things like that. One of the things, of course, we paid attention to across the industry is the option of early access as well as beta access. We understand as a live game, as an MMO, as a competitive and cooperative game, there are some unique dimensions to any kind of early access offering here. And there's a little bit of fine print that people have seen on the website, but I want to just elaborate on what that means a bit more. We're really trying to do everything we can to ensure that this is really just a head start on leveling up. You can jump in and work on getting to 80, exploring the world, seeing the story, but Mythic Zero dungeons, weekly quests, things like weekly specialization cooldowns, the high-end treasure tables, if there are rares that drop limited epics, all those things that will feel like any kind of long-term competitive advantage are not going to be available during these first few days. For folks who are used to jumping in and just like going hard at an expansion launch,
that's good.
You may be familiar with the fact that those things have already traditionally been locked until the first weekly reset, until Tuesday morning in North America, Wednesday morning in Europe, Thursday morning in Asia.
Zorg, thanks for the sub.
We're just kind of pulling in that week 0 starting point a bit. The goal here is to make sure that certainly by the time season 1 starts, if you have two players with similar play
Maybe
styles,
it's not that Kazalgar looks like Oribos, but Oribos looks dwarven. Maybe, yeah. I mean, maybe. I wouldn't say that they're like identical or anything. I'm not trying to imply that. It just reminds me of it. That's all.
side by side, and one of them had early access and the other didn't.
You can barely
really
interrupt in the vid.
which
Oh,
which
I'm sorry,
in terms
dude.
of any competitive
Well,
aspect of the game that matters. So it's looking to offer increased value where we can, but also roll it out and manage it carefully to make
Oribos
sure that
the
it's
engine.
fair.
Our next question is from Zyxleine.
So, you know, I'm actually kind of fine with this, and I'm going to be honest, when I was looking at, especially as a content creator, that would be super nice, especially as someone who takes my time with quests and, like, reads everything. To be able to get access to start leveling and, like, really take my time, and that way I'm not, like I normally am, like, significantly behind everyone else because I'm taking my time doing every single quest, where a lot of people are not. You know, I don't really mind, to be honest with you. So I think that when I saw that getting the upgraded version gave early access, that definitely does it. I mean, that definitely does make me consider getting it. So, you know, I'm not gonna say that like it's like it doesn't matter. I think it would affect which version I would purchase. So.
From Germany.
Maybe that's a bad thing. I don't know.
Expansions are
But
supposed to be released faster in the future. Will that have an impact on the amount of content per expansion? And if not, how do you ensure that the quality and quantity remain the same?
That's a great question, something we've also heard a lot of discussion around. Just want to be clear, obviously we're focused right now on the War Within, and that's what we're talking about. But as you know, Chris Metzen laid out, we have Midnight and the Last Titan on the horizon. Those are WoW expansions. And we're not trying to, you know, do some game shrinkflation here. WoW expansions are staying WoW expansions, right? When you see War Within, that's 4 zones, 8 dungeons, new levels, a raid, all of that stuff. Again, not saying much about Midnight, but I can say it's going to have 4 zones, dungeons, a raid, etc. And so really that's what we're holding to. Now, we've made no secret of the fact that we want to reduce lulls and gaps in our content delivery over the years. A lot of the investment we've made in growing the World of Warcraft development team in recent years has been building towards realizing this exact goal, being able to deliver a steady patch cadence, content update cadence like we've seen throughout Dragonflight, while still being on track for a big, ambitious expansion offering on schedule. And when you opt into War Within, you're not just signing up for what's there at launch, you're signing up for a continuation of that frequent Dragonflight style update schedule. Our main goal is to ensure that we're telling the story without meaningful pauses or lulls, but also at the same time not rushing through it and giving each, whether it's a narrative beat or a raid tier or whatever, the time that it needs to breathe and for players to really enjoy it at their own pace with the next thing on the horizon.
Yeah, and like Ian mentioned, you know, there's 3 more updates coming in Dragonflight. One of those things will be a Season 4, like we saw with Shadowlands. And, you know, that's an opportunity for us to do some fun experimental things, as well as to kind of revisit some of what we saw in Season 4 of Shadowlands. But there's also some, like, kind of awesome surprises coming in there that the team has really been looking at ways to, like, provide really unique experiences to the players and really make sure that Dragonflight is fresh and exciting all the way through as we move into the War Within.
Our next question is from many players around the world, and including myself.
Good to me.
Will druids have dynamic flight in all of their flight forms, or some, or will there be a new flight form specifically for dynamic flying for druids?
Can confirm.
Oh, hey. There's some runes scrawled on that fucking paper right there. But if you took those and compared them to Xalatath,
Druids will have dynamic.
their color scheme is so interesting to me. They have fire and stuff down here. It's not all voidy as you would think. Very strange. Interesting.
Druids will have dynamic flight in their flight forms. That's how flying is going to work going forward.
Our next question is Waterwoods
Rune
from the
shopping.
Warcraft Community Council. Why is static flying not available until level 80 while dynamic flying is immediately available off the bat? May we hear your reasoning for this, please?
Yeah, I can take that one. You know, we actually discussed this quite a bit as we were moving into Dragonflight, but something about dragon riding, it just makes the questing experience a lot more engaging and exciting, and, you know, it really changes the way you engage with the world. And also, you know, until you've really mastered it, there's a bit more variance to it, where, you know, with static flight, you can kind of like pop up, idle, look around, exactly pinpoint the quest mob, boop, land right on top of it versus there's a lot more like, active gameplay with dragon riding.
Totally
AKA
agree with that.
dynamic flight. I have to train my brain now.
Yeah,
agree with that.
me too.
Dynamic flight. So yeah, we just feel like that's a much more interesting way to engage with the world, especially during level up as you're still exploring. And then we will have static flight unlock not too long after reaching max level. There's probably some really basic things that you might be used to, like explore the world, do some questing. We won't have renown on it. We learned that lesson. And then you'll be able to unlock it very early on in the War Within as well.
Our next question is from Dirty Paws from the Warcraft Community Council. Regarding professions, is the new system we got in Dragonflight staying? Are there any changes coming to what we saw in Dragonflight?
Yeah, totally. So in the War Within, we will have new
Undead Comrade.
kind of
Thank you for the
specialization
10-month reset
points
with
where
the
you can
Prime.
kind of customize your different professions as you are continuing to skill up in the War Within. Something else we're looking at is inspiration, the stat. We added a bunch of cool new stats for crafting in Dragonflight. And inspiration is one that we've heard a lot of feedback on and kind of keeping an eye on, since ultimately sometimes you have to kind of crit your crafting to make it the most valuable one possible. And if you have to crit, then the crit isn't a crit anymore; it's success. So we're looking at that one. And then lastly, we've seen a lot of great feedback around crafting orders and how people are enjoying that. But if you're not someone who's like at the bleeding edge of the crafting system, it can be hard to find crafting orders that you can fill. So we're looking at ways to kind of increase availability of crafting orders. And one of the ideas that we're currently experimenting with, and not sure that this is something that we'll be able to do at the launch of War Within, but we think it's a really fun idea to explore, is the idea of like NPC crafting orders, where maybe when you go to the crafting order UI, there'll be like someone, the Valdrakken Accord wants you to make some stuff for them because, they're short on swords or something.
Yeah,
They
probably
broke them
should
all.
have that as an option.
Something like
Just in
that.
case
It'd be
real
really fun,
people
so
don't
that
need
it
anything.
increases the audience that can engage with the crafting orders. So those are kind of the areas that we're looking at for War Within.
Our next question is from Verald from Sargeras. How will the Warband's transmog
Have to be policed a bit.
work with class
So people
locked
became
items such as
multi-millionaires.
tier set tokens?
Yeah, we're still kind of working through the details there, but in terms of the tier set tokens, we imagine that would kind of remain to be soulbound. Certainly that's an area where we're looking to get feedback on. Like I know there are people who have multiple of one character, so that's definitely, one class. So that's definitely something that we'll be listening to feedback on, but right now the plans are those will stay soulbound, but that doesn't
Those
mean
really
that based
need
on
to
feedback,
fix
we
the
couldn't find
economy.
some
That's the
alternative
root of all
solutions there.
profession
Yeah, I
problems.
think it's going to vary across legacy content. Set pieces were obtained in some different ways.
Right.
I think if specifically, as personal loot or otherwise, something is obtained directly as the warrior set, then you'll have to earn that on a warrior. There won't be a way to, when playing your rogue, collect a warrior appearance if it's dropping with class-specific logic. In others, with regard to generalized item drops, though, the goal is just for armor type not to matter.
Okay.
Once you have the item in your possession, if you don't know the appearance will be added to your warband.
Class sets are a fun one though, because
Yeah.
it's changed how those have actually been acquired so many times over the years that the team's really gonna have to dig in and look at each individual one and hopefully come up with solutions, but yeah.
I trust them. I believe. Our next question is from Maury from Discord. Can we opt out of warbands?
Not currently. That is not the plan. You will have your warband on
fucking
across
question
all
is
the
that?
characters. We have discussed certain elements of
I don't want more flexibility. Like, what the fuck?
warbands that maybe you wouldn't want to have available on like a brand new character, right? Like one of those examples is exploration. We know often exploration is actually really helpful when you're leveling a new character to know, wait, where haven't I been, right? So that's one of those kind of unique
question,
areas where we
Karen.
looked at and said, like, actually, this is a space where maybe we don't want to do that just from a pure.
I wanna
gameplay
grind rep
perspective.
at all
It might
8 of
be
my
Less
characters.
convenient to have that. So definitely looking at areas like that we can look to make adjustments to.
Yeah, I'd definitely be curious to kind of hear a bit more about what's behind this question. Like, if there's someone who's looking to opt out of warbands, what aspect of it
There you
would
go,
you not
Ian.
want defaulted to being inherently account-wide? Because most of this to us, based on the feedback we've heard from
Seems
players
like just
certainly over the years,
positives.
feels like universally desirable convenience. But if we're overlooking something, we definitely like to hear that feedback.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to forward that
Attaboy.
over once I get it. Our next question is from Ravage from the Warcraft Community Council. How will account-wide everything work for people who have multiple accounts on one client? Will each account be separated by their licenses, or will all licenses accounts be included in the Warband account-wide everything?
your warband, the members of your warband will span your Battle.net account. So if you have multiple WoW licenses, all of those will share warband benefits. Now, there are some restrictions and limitations when it comes to that particular case. I think, for starters, when you're looking at the login screen at character select, you will only see the members of your warband on that WoW account.
All my shit is under one thing anyway, so I'm not
WoW account.
I'm not really sure if that like
crossing some walls that
matters to me, but
within our
that
system.
sounds really nice.
Also, if you're
I have friends who have
actively
multiple
multi-boxing,
accounts.
there may be some restrictions on interacting
Fucking Chad
with
has
certain
2 accounts.
aspects of shared
His shaman is on one and his paladin or
systems,
his priest and
like
shit's on the other.
Warband Bank, for example. If one character on account A
So that would
is
affect him.
actively using the Warband Bank,
But he plays
account
Classic,
B
so.
may find that that is currently locked. Again, that's simply just for transactional security. And
Let me
other
hear this
things
again,
along those
sorry.
lines. Now, some restrictions on interacting with certain aspects of shared Warbound systems, like the Warband Bank, for example. If one character on account A is actively using the Warband Bank, account B may find that that is currently locked. Again, that's simply just for transactional security and other things along those lines. But if you're just looking to
No
play,
duping and shit.
make progress toward achievements, earn renown,
So you don't lose
share
items as well, probably.
transmog, all of those things, doesn't
gets
matter
lost
whether
in the
you're on
void.
one WoW account or multiple, as long as they're on the same beatnet.
Yeah, there's definitely some solutions that we've discussed. Like for those of you that have been on multiple characters, how only one of them can make progress on your pet battles, because that's a kind of account-wide progress. There'll be similar solutions like that we'll see for a couple different systems, where it's like, okay, this one logged in first. You're the one that kind of has tap to earn certain certain progress across your account.
All right, our next question is from Severex from the Guild Unleashed. How will account-wide rep work with the opposing factions, such as Frenzy Heart Tribe versus Oracles and the Aldor versus the Scryers?
So for this one, was trying to be very clear on the What's Next panel. The
Yeah.
current plan is that
Priosh,
our War Within
thanks.
Renown and Reputations will be
Yeah, people have really been
shared across
slinging
the
them.
entire account. When it comes
Especially
to more
today.
of those legacy ones, we're still kind of looking into what it'll take to achieve that. But even in that world, there are certain reputations like that are really tied to the fantasy of an individual character, right? Like, oh, this character made a choice. So it's very likely we would keep those one tied to the characters, but then there's also the element of, well, what were the rewards that I got from those choices? And those are the areas we want to make sure that that's shared across your account. So it's more just the fantasy of
So
that
they follow
reputation with
Chris?
that character, where what you might have gotten from it, we would still want to be able to share across your whole warband.
Yeah, as Morgan said, I think for sure War Within reps will work this way. We hope and aim to make Dragonflight reps also kind of retroactively warband level, because those feel current and relevant. For new players leveling up in War Within, Dragonflight's going to be the level up experience. But for the dozens and dozens of other reps, it's something we want to do. The answer, just to be clear, it's not a this will never work on the warband level. It just, there's a lot of kind of data archaeology and making sure that we're converting and fixing up things appropriately that
Let's
needs
not
to be
fuck it up when
undertaken.
we're doing it.
We want to make sure we're not losing any data along the
Yeah.
way. That's something we want to do, but it will take time.
All right, our next question is from Varlens from France. How many characters can we fit into a warband, and are we limited to one warband per account?
It's a good question.
I believe it is 50 characters per WoW account, but like we said, you can have
60
more.
as of Dragonflight.
Oh, 60 as of
Yeah,
Dragonflight.
used to
Wow,
be
I have
50.
old info here.
We raised the cap because of those amazing hardcore altaholics out there who had 50 characters, and then we're like, here is Evoker. Delete one of your characters.
nuts.
Okay, let's raise the cap.
So
yeah.
60 per WoW account, but like we said, you can have multiple accounts
That is
in your
nuts.
warband, but only one will share the character select screen. So lots.
That is a lot. That
the
is so
answer.
much. Nice. Our next question is from the Cat's Meow from the Guild Garbage. Will Mythic Plus portals be account bound?
Yes, so as of about 12 hours ago, I was talking to the team and felt like, yes, in War Within, your portals can be account bound.
All right. Our next question is from Roland from France.
Cool.
Can we customize the background of the warband menu?
Thanks for waiting. No problem.
So this is a request we've heard from a few folks since
think this is
rolling
a
out
very
that,
reasonable and cool
look at the new
request.
character select screen.
Let us
We're going to have
customize.
one cool backdrop at launch in War Within. Definitely feedback there is heard loud and clear. We're looking into, I think adding that functionality and customization down the line. It's not going to be something we can do right at launch. But I think, as we've said a couple times, we really see warbands as a foundation to build upon. And so, yeah, like the idea that
They said that your
as you reach
mythic dungeon portals would be shared or something. Will Mythic Plus portals be account bound? I think he said yes. which I don't really know what that means. But yeah.
Team and felt like, yes, in War Within, your portals can be account bot.
All right.
That's
Our
nice
next
for
question
alts.
is from Roland from France.
Cool.
Can we customize the background?
You get a portal for timing at 20, but only one of the but only on the character that did it. So it's like it's like a challenge mode, gold in the back in the day or whatever, silvers or golds that let you teleport there. Is it one of those dungeons you can only use like once a day? They're like old CM portals. Sick, dude. Oh, those are sick. CMs, oh man. CMs are some of the best content the game has ever fucking had. Bring back challenge mode dungeons, man. I mean, Mythic Plus basically is that, but I don't know. It was different.
Of the warband menu.
But there was not a lot of variety to them because they didn't have any affixes. It was the same fucking thing each time.
So this is a request
Wasn't that
from
hard.
a few folks since rolling out that look at the new character select screen. We're going to have one cool backdrop at launch in War Within. Definitely feedback there is heard loud and clear. We're looking into, I think adding that functionality and customization down the line. It's not going to be something we can do right at launch. But I think, as we've said a couple times, we really see warbands as a foundation to build upon. And so, yeah, like the idea that
True, Kazas.
as you reach a
Gear didn't
certain
mean as
warband
much.
renown level with a certain group,
Which I liked.
you could have their settlement. If you like their vibe, you like their general architecture, if you could unlock using their settlement as your background character select screen, that's the kind of thing we'd love to chase in the future, but not at War Within launch.
Okay. Our next question is from Alistair from Germany. Since you're also revamping the banks through the warband feature, are there also plans to revise or expand the general bags bank storage system? Will we finally be able to replace the standard bag?
No plans currently to look at a broader kind of revamp there. Ultimately, often when we hear this feedback, we'll look to try to really look at more tactical solutions, right? Like I think Guardians of the Dream is a great example where we heard a lot of feedback around people's bag space, and the item upgrade system was
Yeah, true, Megalabai. Yeah, you're right. I'm just traumatized by chat.
something that we looked at to kind of help resolve some of the
And
problems
they
there.
by
So,
me.
in Guardians of the Dream, those will move your crests and stuff will move into your currency tab. Another one that we talked a lot about was, I mentioned you might need some keys to open some chests and delves, and right from the onset, we were like, okay, please don't make me have a ton of keys in my bag for this. So the team has already talked about having, those keys kind of live in the Delves UI, so that you don't have to carry those around your bag. So definitely looking at tactical ways to fix that, and anytime that people do feel like, there's so much stuff in my bags, that's really great feedback for us to say like, okay, but how are we creating this problem for you? And really looking at that from that perspective versus saying, okay, let's just make your bags bigger and bigger, when in reality,
Maybe you should just clean your fucking bags up. You ever think of that?
it might be problems that we're creating that we should be solving in different ways.
I will also add, though, that I think the way the OG character bank works is something we want to improve. Our focus right now is just on
Bring back
warband
the
storage.
keyring? Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that it feels archaic to have to buy a whole set of bags and individually put them in your bank slots when we have examples from the guild bank, the warband bank of, just a more,
70 empty bag
tab
slots?
system, but focuses on warbands for now.
You don't like the bag progression game?
I mean, I know tailors love it, but it's maybe not the most elegant brand.
Our next question is from a lot of players all around the world. Is there something more you can do about bag bloat?
Oh,
Warband
on that-
bank
on
sounds
that
like a
note.
step in the right direction, but we're still piling up valuable items faster than our bags are growing.
Pretty much what Morgan just
Yeah,
said to
like-
that. It's something that we've heard probably more than ever over the course of Dragonflight.
I just cleaned my bags last night. It took me
when
like
we
20
really
minutes to do it.
Double
Oh my
down
God.
on more varied world content in particular, which tends to have localized little systems and ecosystems, and you're gathering fragments as part of one event, or you're getting something else that's tied to a vendor as part of another. That can very quickly become overwhelming. We've been actively surveying, looking at what items are most commonly in players' bags and trying to use that to guide our development philosophy going forward.
Yeah, they have a
The
lot of data.
answer,
They got all the
as-
data.
As Morgan said on
They
the last
have the
question, isn't
metadata.
more bag space at some point. If you have 120 things already, that is an overwhelming amount of stuff. We should be trying to limit what we're asking you to hold rather than just giving you more and more space
yeah.
until you can't even find anything in your own inventory anymore.
Yeah.
A change that we are making in War Within also that will help to a small degree here is we're actually having, this is so exciting for me, but I'm sure most people are like, what are you talking about? Is like there will be subheaders within the currency tab. So like we can start to do things like say, hey, here are my War Within currencies. And then say, here's season 1 War Within currencies. And that way you can just say like, all right, collapse that. I don't want to see all the currency bloat as we've seen in the past. Because, you know, a lot of the time the team does discuss, like, hey, should this be a currency or should this be an item?
Eating up all the currency.
Deal with that. And often the question is, well, is it evergreen or is it seasonal? And if it's seasonal, we often say, all right, it should be an item in your bag because we don't want that to be bloating my currency tab for the whole expansion. But in War Within, having the ability to have those kind of like subheaders will, I think, help a lot in terms of being able to leverage that system more.
All right. Our next question is from Stud Muffin from the Guild Guardians of Fate.
Nice.
Will we see the trading post in the next expansion as well?
Yep. I mean, yeah, it's been a fun addition to the WoW ecosystem, right? It's a chance to get a cool range of WoW cosmetics into the, out to the player base of all playstyles. We're already planning out a full fun slate of themed drops over the course of 2024.
I'm not going to spend money on things that give me
stay.
trading post tender for the record.
I'll be happy to hear that.
Seems wildly inefficient.
Did the sword go
and I hope that it's balanced to the point where it doesn't exponentially become more expensive, as Cellular had pointed out in their early days.
I'm sure everyone tuning in to this WoWcast Q&A is ultra informed and already knows this, but one of the fun things we did with the trading post was,
of course, the monetized tenders.
drop,
I know, but I'm saying, like, I hope it's not
objective
efficient enough
in
to
November of a couple of sort of Sargeras transmogs
make it worth
that would have been spoilery if they'd been there on November 1st,
purchasing
but a few days later.
Any more than like on and off
Did you just
one-time thing,
recognize the sword?
That's what I mean.
What sword?
I tricked you.
Our next question is from Arbiter from Discord.
Oh.
What about server merging? Right now, most restrictions are lifted, cross-server groups and guilds, item and gold transfers, and region-wide auction house. What can we expect in the future?
So, our approach so far has really been to tear down those barriers. Many aspects of the auction house still are realm-based. The commodities portion of it is region-wide. But, there's still a lot of things that are rooted in server, not least of which is everyone's names and their guild names. But really, for now, our focus is on making it not matter what server you're on when it comes to basically any facet of your gameplay. If we reach a point down the line where we fully accomplished that goal, and it really raises the question of why do these exist at all, that's a bridge we would cross. But really, our focus is on the player experience first and foremost.
Our next question is from Phenomenon from the Warcraft Community Council. Will there be another stat squish? And if so, what does that look like this time? If another stat squish is enacted, will the team be looking into the after effects that occur in regards to legacy content?
So we're not currently planning on a stat squish for War Within.
Nice.
We're going to have some pretty large numbers, but they're comparable to numbers that we saw in Legion, let's say.
Nice.
5
milli chaos bolts.
We are almost certainly going to do a stat squish again at midnight.
6 milli chaos bolts.
When we get there, we've gotten
stat squish at midnight.
better, basically, at doing this over the years. It's less of an ad hoc process and something we have more structure around. So I think I'm confident that we'll be able to better address legacy scaling. And as always, when we roll it out, make sure to roll it out from day one of the midnight alpha, so that we can have all the time needed to get any feedback or catch things we might have missed to make sure that it's not disruptive when it comes to legacy content.
Our next question is from Raining Metal from Discord. Will the nature of the group finders, such as for looking for raids, dungeons, and time walking, ever be made cross-faction?
So there's aspects there that we want to continue to expand. The pre-made group finder is inherently cross-faction for groups that you can form and walk into instances. It's an opt-in activity by design. And I think our plan is to keep it that way, in the sense of avoiding situations where someone is randomly queuing up for something and then just finding themselves in a group with members of the opposite faction in a way that can sort of violate some fundamental boundaries in the rest of the in-world Azeroth fiction. Our focus is on letting people play with their friends, first and foremost. Now, we recognize, though, that there are some activities, time walking probably being the most notable among them, that can only be accessed via queuing. And there, what we would like to do, and we are working on this, is have the ability to say that, yes, if you're a pre-made cross-faction group, you can queue up for any of these queued activities, but that's not quite the same as random
make LFG factionless.
People who aren't opting into that cross-faction.
That's what I want.
Our next question is from Rugsy from Discord. Can we expect to see the continuation of expanded character customization in the War Within? Can we expect more than new hair, eye colors coming in the future?
Yeah, I think this is another one of those ongoing projects. I think as we've seen over the course of Dragonflight, some of our updates, additional options for for different races as it makes sense. It's something same with our UI updates and other areas. We want to just keep adding options, keep adding variety, and I think certainly we've learned from Evoker customization, for example, how to offer some more areas of customization that we would love to bring to other player races down the line.
Our next question is from Shalandana from Germany. Why do we travel back in time in Midnight: The Last Titan, and what does this mean? Are we talking about specific zones or an actual complete new old version of the world?
Can't talk about that.
I think there's a misconception at the root of this question. This is definitely, we're not traveling in time at all. We have just healed the timeways as of Dawn of the Infinite recently. We don't need to venture there
Shut the fuck up, Ian. You spoiler.
anytime soon, promise. When Chris Metzen said returning to the old world, he didn't mean old in the sense of temporal, but actually just returning to these familiar lands that we had visited at times in the past and seeing how they've changed and telling new stories in them.
Silvermoon rework.
That
it's coming.
Is
Silvermoon
really
fucking rework
for us when it comes to future World of Warcraft storytelling.
It's coming. Maybe Gilneas
is
finally
keep these iconic spaces vibrant and relevant.
Northrend too.
We've been to Northrend and we told the story of the Lich King there 15 years ago. Therefore, we can't use it anymore. Is not a world that really best serves the Warcraft franchise. So in Midnight, yes, we're going to be returning to
your world
to the lands of the Blood Elves, the lands around Silvermoon, the lands of Kel'Thalas, and we will see how they have changed in the time since the Draenei arrived and the Blood Elves entered into World of Warcraft in 2007. But also we're going to expand and reimagine.
That was 15 years ago.
Same with Northrend in Last Titan. So no time travel here, only moving forward.
Brass, thank you for the sub.
Yeah, and since I'm sure people will have a thought on a follow-up, we'll absolutely make sure that you can,
You're old.
Fly and kind of traverse around.
You were
those
5 when it
spaces
released?
as you would expect, since right now I know in kind of some of those older spaces that's not currently available, but that's part of the fun of revisiting those spaces is not only bringing them up in fidelity in terms of how they look, but also, like Ian mentioned, making them kind of come to current day in terms of the timelines, as well as allowing all those cool features.
Yeah. Imagine flying north from the Plaguelands and finding yourself in the space north of the Plaguelands without a load screen. Crazy.
Our next question from Zella from the guild Almost Sane. In the deep dive, it was mentioned that some flying mounts would be ineligible for dynamic flight due to animation concerns. Could we get some examples of this?
When WoW came out, I was already out of school. When WoW came out, I was still playing pickup sticks, throwing rocks through straw hoops with my friends.
So I think adding dynamic flight to a mount, it does require a new custom
Any tips
suite.
getting back into WoW? Oh, fuck. Don't let people convince you that you need to download a bunch of fucking add-ons to play World of Warcraft at a casual level. You don't. You don't even need a fucking damage meter if you don't care. You don't need it, but it helps. But don't let people convince you need them.
Suite of animations for banking and everything else. For some of our flying mounts, that's more challenging than others. There's some that are just simply more awkward to feel reasonable. Think mechanized or very
Mim's head.
Stuff like that, exactly. And so we're working through that process. Our goal is we would love to eventually be able to say all of them, any mount that can fly can also dynamic fly. But we have some challenges to work through before we can.
That would include the Ghostlands.
So
Yo, Zulamon rework?
Trying to be reasonable.
Dude, what if they pulled a Zulamon mega dungeon for the fucking... Dude, stop playing with my heartstrings right now. You're even going to get classic players like stoked if you say weird shit like that. Don't be saying that. Combat add-ons, no thanks. RP add-ons necessary. Quick 30-second react. What? If this is fucking stupid, you lose your rack privileges. They're gone. Do you understand me?
It was stupid.
We are not related, bro. We're not fucking related. I don't know what that even was.
and setting expectations. We're definitely going to come out the gates with hundreds of mounts that can do both, but we'd love to get to 100% eventually.
Yeah, I mean, the goal philosophically with mounts is always that they be, a choice. It's a collection. It's something that I want to choose based on an aesthetic. We don't want there to be objectively, right or wrong choices when it comes to mounts. So, we really want to get as many of these mounts into players' hands that can dynamically fly, but also, even if we can't quite hit 100%, we feel like it's very awesome to be able to provide a lot of these other cool ones, like we saw Invincible and some other ones in there that were, I'm stoked for those to come out.
It's a big deal. I love it. I'm so excited. Our next question is from Moonfire from the guild Karazhan Chess Club. Love that guild name, by the way. Are Delve Gear Awards going to be done in a raid lockout style, daily Mythic Plus style, or something new?
Yeah, so caveat here, this is all subject to change based on player feedback. We're excited to get this into players' hands with, alpha and beta as soon as possible. Currently, what we're thinking is that you'll be able to run delves kind of as much as you would like. We don't want to have lockouts or anything on those. But as I mentioned, there will be these keys that you can kind of collect, both rare and epic keys. An epic key would probably be something that is like given from the Aiding the Accord style quest, like on a weekly cadence, where the rare keys you can earn from doing activities in the outdoor world, and those are a bit more repeatable. And the gear would most likely be coming from those big, locked chests. But you would still be able to earn things like reputation, faction, a lot of other stuff from running a delve, as well as just if you want to kind of like see how high you can push in your progression, you'll be able to do that whenever you feel like it. You won't need keys to get in there. So that's the current plan with delves in terms of the rewards and the itemization of how that will flow. And of course, you'll be able to get gear from
why is
the
he
Great
wearing
Vault
two
from
watches?
the delves.
Yeah.
And the current plan there is that you'll be able to kind of fill that outdoor
Probably just in case
bar
this
from
one
doing
dies.
any number of those outdoor activities.
And this one tracks as activity.
But the like kind of we call it high water mark, right?
Standard
How
watch
high
lasts a
the
lot
eye level
longer.
You're going
This
to
one
see
tracks as
from
activity.
the delve or from the
it's
outdoor
like a
row
Fitbit.
would be from how challenging of a delve you might have done for the week.
All right, our next question from Akacha from Alex Draza server.
That's what it is.
Do the hero spec trees mean we will get some of the old playstyles back, such as dual wield survival hunter or two-hand enhancement shaman?
This is a fun question. As we were talking about hero talents early on, like one of the ideas I loved was, we were talking about Priest and we were talking about Anduin, and we saw him in his kind of like battle gear, and I'm like, wouldn't it be cool to have a priest in plate armor? Like, look at Anduin, how cool is that? And then the more we got to talking about that, the more we were like, that would cause such massive itemization concerns, right? Like we all meme about like hunter loot, but like the problems that could occur just in terms of like getting gear for different specializations based on, wait, just because you're a different hero spec, suddenly you need this item that I'm not used to people needing. So we wanted to really avoid any of those kind of problems. We do think it's a fun space to explore, but that's not currently something that we would do with hero talents. If we wanted to make a change like that, we would want to make it much more global, so that was a lot more understandable.
Our next question is from Solanus from France. Will
Blade druids
archaeology
would be
make a
sick.
comeback in the War Within?
Archaeology,
probably
as it's been known in the past, I think the triangulation minigame, I do not think is likely to return in that form. I think when we look at archaeology, we understand, we hear these questions, understand the desire for and the interest in both the fantasy of just uncovering and unearthing aspects of Azeroth's history and the cultures that have lived here for centuries or thousands of years. Also, it's a chance to collect some cool cosmetics and more. So I think we're looking for different vehicles and different outlets for that gameplay, for those rewards. It's not hard to imagine Delve scratching a little bit of that itch as we're journeying with Bran into some of these vaults and locations throughout Khazalgar that we might, in addition to loot and other things, be piecing together some pieces of a larger narrative and relics of the past. And it's something that the team doesn't want to let go of entirely. But the feedback we heard by and large about the triangulation minigame was that it was frankly more tedious than fun. And that was, I think, the majority opinion. I know that there's a minority who loved it, but I think we, in this case, are listening to and are guided by the feedback that we're hearing in aggregate.
There actually will be not archaeology, but a fun feature that is going to help scratch at that itch that Ian was talking about and really dive into some more
Dropped
like,
off
the
after
lore
Legion. I
of
still
the
feel like it's a
world,
lot to come back.
in one of those
come
future
back to.
updates for
It is.
Dragonflight called Azerothian Archives. which is an opportunity for us to kind of take another view at how we might implement something like that. So I'm excited for people to see that, and please give us feedback, and if that's something that you enjoy or like and want to see more of. We're always talking about ways to kind of add depth to the world and add, just the discoverability of some of the story of, these spaces that we're visiting.
In-game lore
so
archive.
much history and life to them.
The feedback that we're hearing.
Listen
in
to this.
aggregate.
There actually will be a, not archaeology, but a fun feature that is going to help scratch at that itch that Ian was talking about and really dive into some more of the lore of the world in one of those future updates for Dragonflight called Azerothian Archives, which is, an opportunity for us to kind of take another view at how we might implement something like that. So I'm excited for people to see that, and please give us feedback, and if that's something that you enjoy or like and want to see more of. We're always talking about ways to kind of add depth to the world and add, just the discoverability of some of the story of these spaces that we're visiting.
Archives.
So much history and life to them, and having ways to discover that is always something that we're talking about. How can we inject into the world?
Yeah, more info on that coming soon.
Our next question comes from Harrison B. from the Wormrest Record server. Going into the War Within, are there measures in place to ensure accuracy with previous storylines?
Yeah, I think yes, always, right?
agree, Manuel.
We have a vast team of actual literal, lore historians in our story and franchise development group. We have a fellow by the name of Christopher Metzen, who knows a thing or two about, just the broad arc of Warcraft history. And yeah, just an amazing team of narrative and quest designers and folks who really live and breathe
Broad
Warcraft
arc
lore.
of Warcraft's history.
It's a big, complex space to keep track of.
I don't know anything about that.
We will occasionally miss things. Cue red shirt guy. But by and large, we do everything in our power to keep it all straight and make sure that we're not forgetting anybody. I think something that Taryn Gregory focuses on in particular these days, which is particularly awesome, I think is really tracking and charting the character arcs of all of our major characters, kind of diagramming that out, understanding who's going to be in the background at a given time, who's going to be in the forefront and central to the story, making sure, again, that we're not forgetting anyone, and that if we reach a juncture in our narrative where it just really makes sense for a certain character to be there, they would not
Chris
sit
Metzen?
idly by while something happened. We're going to make sure that we pay that off and don't neglect it. So, yeah.
And also that they're speaking with one voice, right? When you have a team as awesome and as...
How old is Thrall now? How old is Chris Metzen? I would think Thrall's 49 years old. Thrall's about 32 years old 2 days ago, depending on when in the year he was born. As for whether orcs naturally go gray in their 30s, well, that's another question. Fuck, he's about 32.
Epic as the World of Warcraft team, there's often multiple people working on individual characters, and making sure that there's consistency across those characters is something that the team's really been focusing on.
Bro is stressed.
I really want to see Taryn's document on how he tracks all that.
Yeah, they think Always Sunny whiteboard meme, basically. Pretty close.
Yeah, I think he'll be older and
All
more
right,
within.
we have
Same with
one
Anduin,
last
obviously.
question. It's from WoW from Discord. Any chance on porting the multi-stage casting mechanic from Evoker to other classes? I'd love to see it on Chaos Bolt.
No plans to extend that out in the War Within.
Interesting thought.
When we have new kind of iconic mechanics like that for classes, we like to
you're
kind of
doing
keep
well,
them
thanks.
sacred for a little while. And we're not quite out of that window yet, but it's certainly something that, trust me, the team has talked about and they're excited to explore in different spaces. There's obvious examples like, Chaos Bolt's a fun one, but also Hunters are one that I've heard the feedback a lot of times, like, can I just pull the bow, more and more? It's very iconic in terms of gaming mechanics. So definitely something we're talking about, but not something that we're looking to extend in the War Within.
Thank you so much, guys, for talking about the War Within today.
And thank you all for the amazing questions. This is really just the tip of the iceberg, right? It's so exciting for us to pull back the curtain, show everyone what we've been working on and what's coming your way next year. I know there's many more questions out there. We're going to keep looking to get information out to all of you and just kind of continue the conversation as we move ahead towards Alpha in the spring.
Yeah, what he said. Thanks for being here.
Don't go anywhere, guys. We're going to have a Q&A with the Warcraft Classic team.
You guys want to watch Warcraft Classics Q&A? Maybe we'll talk about... No? Yep. No? Nope. No? Okay.